Should you give other people a second chance? Forgiveness has always been seen as something virtuous, but what I want to suggest to you here is that there are times where you should forgive and there are times where you should not forgive.
We all have the boy in you and just trust to it.
Whatever happened in the past cannot be undone. If someone did something at a certain particular time, doesn't matter how much apologies are given, how much forgiveness is given, the facts of the past remain facts. For example, your romantic partner cheated on you, and then they try to ask for your forgiveness. They tell you, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. I was in the heat of the moment. I was just kind of feeling like this relationship wasn't working, but I'm sure we can make it work, right? And all these things. Sure, like an apology could really help, but at the same time, no matter what apology you give, it's not going to change what happened in the past. No amount of emotional reasoning and throwing emotions at you and doing stuff like that will change the past. Now, obviously, some people can change, but not everybody changes. So, what is the common view on forgiveness? Most people see forgiveness as a virtue, something that's virtuous, that is good. Spiritually enlightened people on their spiritual path, forgive people, and it's important to do so. But when it goes too far, and then your forgiveness allows other people to step on top of you, to let toxic people into your life, violate your boundaries, violate who you are, violate what you value most in life, then your forgiveness goes too far. Forgiveness has nothing to do with letting go of your boundaries, letting go of your values, letting go of your strength, of what you stand for. It has nothing to do with that. And if any type of forgiveness you give someone means that you are letting go of your sense of integrity, then you're not forgiving for the right reasons. What's my view on forgiving? There should be two components to it, an internal forgiveness and external forgiveness. What does that mean? It means that when you're forgiving, internally you're forgiving, internally you're giving them space to be in your heart. A past partner of yours cheated on you, right? Let's take that example again. When cheated on you, she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do it. You know, I love you and all these things. While internally you can forgive her, right? So it's not confrontational, it's not hateful. There's no hatred, there's no resentment there, but externally, reinforce those boundaries. Reinforce your values. Okay, you forgive her internally. Okay, I understand maybe you were emotionally hurt, whatever thing. But in this relationship, it still is that you cannot sleep with other people. And then you reinforce this boundary again. Obviously, personally, I would go find another partner right away, but it's up to you for the second chance. But I believe that forgiveness should be given at the right times, not for everyone, but for the right people. People that deserve a second chance, that are more willing to change. Remember, if you're forgiving, emotions will always fool you. Make sure you do so with rational eyes. See through their red flags. See through where they've messed up in the past. Have they messed up multiple times? Only just one time. If they've only messed up one time, then I think forgiveness can be given. But if they've messed up more than once, then maybe it's time to let them go. But in your heart, you will always understand, hey, listen, I understand they hurt me several times in the past, but that's because they didn't know any better. But now I'm gonna let you go. You're gone out of my life. So this happened to one of my friends, actually. I've talked about him in a previous video, and thank God he's not my friend anymore, but he was extremely manipulative. If he wanted something, he would guilt trip me until he could get it. We were shooting a film at some point when I was back in college. And then, you know, he was the main actor in the film. He would be very passive aggressive to me, not showing up to the shoot on time, and then delaying my entire work, putting tremendous stress on top of me because there was a deadline I had to meet. And then he just messed with me like that. Maybe just that one time. But then this repeated again, where he'd be passive aggressive in different instances. When there was a very difficult problem in the friendship, I would want to call him to address it, but he would purposely not pick up the phone 10 to 15 to 20 times. And then he would only respond by text telling me like, hey, chillax, bro. Come on, why are you so reactive? But the mistake that I did is that I forgave him 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I forgave him way too much. And because I forgave him too much, he stepped on top of me again and again and again and again. I don't want this to happen to you. I want you to be really careful there. As soon as it steps on top of your boundaries, be careful. So here are important red flags that you should look for if you're thinking about forgiving that person or not. So first thing that you want to ask is, what's their past history like? Have they done that in the past? And if so, how many times have they done it? Have they done it to different people, right? If it's being, let's say, passive aggressive, trying to look at their past history. How many times have they been passive aggressive? If they were manipulative, deceitful, emotionally manipulative, how many times have they done that in the past? And to how many people? Did they take other people's money and not give it back? How often that this happened? Were you the only person? Or did they do that to different people in the past? Do they have the reputation of a scammer? So how do you gather evidence about their past? Well, if you only talk to them directly, then you have a very subjective, very flawed sample here, because they're gonna throw you whatever shit that will portray them in the most positive light possible. So don't ask them directly, ask people around them. Right? Ask other family members, ask other friends. The closer you come to that circle, and you gotta gather information from different people of different background in that circle. So let's say a particular boss, you wanna know if he's manipulative or not, if he's a good boss or not. You might read, let's say, online reviews, that could be one thing. Second thing, you could talk to other coworkers. The first day of your job, ask other coworkers, hey, how's the job? Is it good? By getting different sources, you get different opinions. Perhaps the guy who does the review of the company online does not have any sort of filters or barriers because he's online and he doesn't give a shit. The guy who's at the company, he's on the phone a lot, so his conversations are recorded half of the time. There's other HR people around, so he doesn't want to talk shit of the boss while they are around. He'll give you some type of information there. It's different than, let's say you ask the boss's wife, for example, or the boss's son, for example. The more discrepancies there are between people, just be careful. And if you see any patterns that re-emerge again and again, this probably is a big red flag. If 2 to 3 people have said that, yeah, this person is passive aggressive, red flag. If 2 to 3 people have said that this person manipulates you, deceives others, red flag. If 2 to 3 people have said that this person violates my boundaries all the time, red flag. So number 2, have they successfully changed in the past? And if so, how have they done it? The point of forgiving is that this person will not commit the same mistake again. But if you're trying to forgive someone internally and externally by still keeping them in your life, but there was no proof in the past that they ever successfully changed at anything, then be careful, right? Not to have prejudices here, but it's kind of true, right? The older you are, the harder it is to change. So if you're 60 years old and you're really manipulative, deceitful, and like an evil fucking motherfucker, it'll be a lot harder at 60 years old to become nice than if, let's say, you're 12 years old and you're still in your adolescence and your neural pathways are still firing up and you're learning shit. It'll be easier for that 12-year-old to be forgiven. We put adults in prison, but we don't put children and teenagers in prison. We put them in a rehabilitation center. That is because children are more likely to change. Children can be forgiven a lot easier than established adults. But there are exceptions, obviously. There are some people that, like, let's say at 40 years old, they were like addicts, and at 45 they become like enlightened or something, and then their entire life change, and then you can tell that this person is a forgiving person, that they can change. Then maybe you can give them a chance. So don't take everything black and white. And number 3 thing that you could ask is, what is their personality type? What are their predispositions? What is their attachment style? What is their amount of self-esteem? What do they value in life? Do your values conflict with your values? Is there a disconnect between you and that person, right, in terms of personality? Because if there is, it's going to be a lot harder to forgive and expect change from that person because there's already a disconnect. You can forgive them, but don't hang out with them, right? Additional tips on forgiveness. Do not forgive someone if your forgiveness only propagates negative behavior, bad behavior, right? Many people forgive, let's say in a toxic relationship, because they believe that by forgiving, the good times will come, right? That is the number one trap as to why many toxic relationships are being perpetuated constantly. They believe that the negative effects are worth the positive effects. So for example, maybe 6 days out of 7 with that person are completely fine, usually. They're joyous, they're charismatic, they share good things, but then 1 day out of 7, they just, it's a complete shit wreck. Right? Whatever this one thing happens, they just blow up on you and then everything just goes to chaos. They threaten to divorce you, they threaten to take all your money, they threaten to X, Y, Z. And you think, oh well, I mean, 6 out of 7 days are fine. I mean, there's just 1 day out of the week, like, you know, no one's perfect. The good times will come. That's a big trap right there. So if that is the case for you, and you're on the edge of forgiveness versus non-forgiveness, consider all the red flags that I talked about earlier in this video before you let them into your life again. And ultimately, why you shouldn't always forgive people. I'll leave you on that. When you're forgiving people too easily, you lose your integrity, 1. Second of all, you let toxic people into your life to hurt you again, empowering bad behavior. 3, you let those people do that again, not just to you, but to other people. So you're rewarding them for bad behavior, hurting you and hurting others. Is that what you want? Do you want this toxic person to keep hurting other people? Do you want to give them a thumbs up, like, yeah, it's okay, you cheated on me, but it's okay, you're a hot girl? Fuck that. Don't let them hurt other people. If they've hurt you, set a boundary. Look into the past and see, and you will find the truth. Don't look at the emotions that they throw at you like smoke, okay? Emotions are the easiest things to stir up, to manipulate someone. Look at the facts. Look at what they've done, what are their intentions, and then you will know the truth. And the last thing that it does, forgiving too easily, it makes you lazy, right? It's easy to forgive someone when they've done you wrong, when they've bullied you, when they've stomped on top of you, than it is to think for yourself, to stand up for yourself. It's harder than just letting it slide, right? Something bad happens, you let it slide, and then it festers in you. Like a poison in your heart. It just slowly poisons you. This relationship, this friendship just slowly poisons you because you don't address it, because you're too lazy, you're too afraid to step up and address them directly. Concluding thoughts. Now this might paint a gloomy picture that, oh, we shouldn't forgive people, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been pretty ruthless in the past with certain people that were toxic to me. I really cut them out really quick. And honestly, it made me a lot of good, amazingly good. But there were other times when I was a little too unforgiving, a little too ruthless, and I lost people in my life that potentially could have grown up with me, evolved with me, because I had too high standards of who my friends would be. And not forgiving can actually become a very big problem. If you forgive no one, then you'll end up with no one. So there's a balance to be had, right? And as I said first, emotionally, you want to be able to forgive, okay? Even if it's the murderer of your wife, you want to be able to forgive that person because this person was hurt in the past and they just don't know how to express this hurt. The same way my friend who was passive aggressive to me, that stepped on top of my boundaries several times, how I don't hang out with him anymore. But I've allowed myself to forgive him emotionally because I know that he was hurt in the past. He even tried to kill himself once. He even tried to end his life once. He was bullied when he was younger. So the only way he could survive in this world was through, I guess, hurting others. That's the only thing he learned because he was hurt his entire life. So I forgive him emotionally. My father, who came back from Cambodia in 1975 at 20 years old. He ran away from the Khmer Rouge genocide, where millions of Cambodians were killed, including his father and his entire family almost. And this entire stress put on him to perform, to be better. Even though my father repeatedly stepped on top of my boundaries, disrespected me, put me down, told me I could never become a public speaker, that I could never do those things, that I could never achieve my dreams. I forgive him. Emotionally, I forgive him. But externally, there will be boundaries that you will have to reinforce, that you will have to put, so then those people don't step on top of those boundaries again. Never forget in your heart to always be grateful and empathetic, because those people are not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to do you wrong. It's just that this is all they know. This is all they know, and they don't know any better. So that's my conclusion to you. I believe it is the amount of difficult relationships and conversations that you can navigate in life that will determine your success in life, because life is a social game. So thank you for watching. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to click on the bell to receive all my videos that I post every Monday, Friday. Leave me your comments below. Let me know, is there someone in your life right now that you're trying to forgive, but you don't know how you should forgive that person? And let me know about the entire dynamic. I want to hear about it, or whatever else you want to tell me. I'll see you next time. Peace.